Guys, it's Rufus, and I'm going to be talking about 6 ways you can use proximity alarms. So starting off, I'm going to talk about pocketing, and what I mean is like how people pocket Ella's Grismas or Valkyrie's cams. You can leave a proximity alarm or 2 in your pocket, so you can use it when you need it. And because of how far you can throw these and how versatile they are, it's very easy to just keep proximity alarms in your pocket. And so when you know where the enemy is pushing, you can just slap that thing wherever and it'll be useful. Because most of the time, it's kind of hard to make these things always useful if you place them at the beginning of the round. But pocketing is the best way to use them in my opinion. For tip 2, it's using proximity alarms on default plans. Now this goes hand in hand with the last tip. There are 2 bomb sites, and you could use both proximity alarms on both default plans, but you will get more use out of them if you pocket one and wait until you know where the attackers are pushing. This can be extremely useful because proximity alarms are very easy to hide, and if someone is going for a plant with, say, 15 seconds left, he might look for the proximity alarm for 2 seconds and just start planting anyway, because he does not have the time to just look for it. But anyway, setting these things on default plants can be so powerful, because you can time nitros, smoke grenades, you'll know when to get on like yokai or evil eye, so it's a really good alarm for knowing when the attackers are about to plant. Coming up next is combining proximity alarms with nitros. What I'm trying to say is that if you place a proximity alarm under a destructible surface, above a destructible surface, you can pre-place a nitro below that destructible surface. Now that means you can use proximity alarms to give an exact audio call of when to blow a nitro. You can use this through floors, ceilings, and even walls in certain situations. And I've been seeing this used a little bit lately, and so that's how I got this idea. And super good, because you have the perfect timing for the call of when to blow that nitro. Instead of having a teammate tell you when to call it, you just know immediately, and so that's why it's super powerful. Another advantage to proximity alarms is that you can hide them in floors really well. Now if you come over here, you can see that the proximity alarm is in the floor, and notice the way that these bars are facing. If you're coming from this direction, with the way that the bars are going, you can see the proximity alarm much sooner. And you will get pinged, but if this floor were more open, like the more the floor is open, the easier it is to see the proximity alarm from a distance, right? So you want to try and destroy as little floor as possible when you do put a proximity alarm in. And if you're coming from the side, you can't see it until, it's right there, so until pretty close. You have to get pretty close here. Now if you come over here, there's another so this hole here, sometimes you can get these lips and of the wood that goes over the proximity alarm. Let me just grab this proximity alarm here. It makes it much more hidden. Now I'm gonna put that in. Alright, shit, there we go. Anyway, from this direction I can only see it until directly like on top of it. And so if you can destroy the floor so that it has that lip, it'll be much more hidden. So that's what you need to try and go for when making these. Another advantage to it though is that with barbed wire, they don't work as alarms as well, right? Because people always destroy it before it actually slows them down. So barbed wire is good for like an initial alarm, but it's not going to give you an alarm for when they're actually pushing. So in situations like this, in this hallway, proximity alarm is really good because it actually tells the defenders when the attackers are actively pushing. And if the attackers were to drone this out, if they saw this hole, they likely would. They might not see the proximity alarm. In fact, they probably wouldn't. People don't really look for proximity alarms, especially not in floors. They're mostly going to look for, is somebody peeking through this hole? And like, do I need to be worried about this? And if they see that nobody's peeking through it, if they see that only part of the floor is broken, like this one part of it, then they won't even worry. Proxies are also very good for hatch drops. It's most common to place barbed under hatches, but most of the time, it's just going to get destroyed before the attackers drop, rendering the barbs not very useful. Because all you have to do, all you have for an alarm is the sound of the hatch drop, which is not reliable as we know siege sound. But proximity alarms can be very hidden, and while they don't slow down the attackers, they're going to give a reliable audio cue as to when the attackers drop. You can also use the proximity alarms under windows too, because it's a very similar concept. When you place barbed under a window, you want to know when the attackers hop in. And while there is a sound for jumping in a window. It's not always reliable. So having a hidden proximity alarm that the attackers don't know it's there because it's hidden. It'll surprise the attackers and it'll give you the intel, so you'll have a good advantage if you say you're taking a gunfight or whatever. And your whole team will be alerted, so it's very easy for everybody to react. And for the attackers, that's a very bad situation. And the final use for proximity alarms is just hiding them in random spots. These things are so versatile, as I mentioned earlier, and you can get really creative with them. These are so easy to hide and can waste a lot of time and win gunfights. Overall, I think these should be brought more, but I can't deny that other utilities are more important, and so you should only bring proximity alarms if it's part of a specific strat, or if you can spare the utility to do so. Or if, say, like, I mean, it's your only option, and the other options aren't great, and you gotta go with proximity alarms, I guess. That happens very rarely, but that's all I had to say for this video. If you learned something, give the video a like, and if you want to see more content like this, then subscribe. Toodles.